We're continuing our journey along the south coast of Crete this morning. However, we have to start with a daunting 450 metre elevation gain in the next 6 kilometres. So here we go.
And gives you the idea ahead of us, and this is a surrounding. We are barely maybe 30% up, and here she is going through the switchbacks. Beautiful country, very rugged. We have to be very patient. It's overnight and this morning was heavy rain, so humidity is high, so we are sweating quite a bit. Now we are about 250 meters above the sea. A little bit of breeze, it helps. Good morning.
Today the sweat is dripping off me, I don't mind saying.
Okay. Hopefully she will have some smile on her face. Yes, halfway. This is Daphne is coming up. It's almost 3 hours of climbing. I thought that we are almost at the end, but we still have about 10 km to go, and when I turn around I can see the ridges way above us. What I hope it will be just almost at the end, but I can see some switchbacks and holy mackerel.
Frank and I weren't sure what to think of Matala at first, with all of its kitschy shops and stalls. But it grew on us, and we enjoyed our 2 nights here. It's one of Crete's most popular tourist attractions due to its notoriety from the 60s, when the cliff caves were home to many hippies, including Joni Mitchell. After riding through that dramatic gorge, we were aiming for Preveli beach. We chose a road that should take us down the east side of the river drainage. However, we had no idea how much this gravel road was going to climb before finally descending steeply to the sea. I found it tough going, as I was already pretty tired from riding in the headwinds today.
We got somewhere, we are not exactly sure. We followed our famous GPS, but this is a little bit rough. It was quite a bit uphill.
Once we got down to the beach, we soon realized that a rocky headland separated us from the actual Preveli beach and its palm trees that we wanted to see. And we had really hoped not to have to ride back up the same 3 steep kilometers of gravel, but it looks like we may have no choice. After breakfast the next morning, we do a little exploring and discover that there is a rough path that goes up over the headland. That there was a small boat ferry bringing tourists into the beach, and we wondered if they'd take bikes. Frank talked to the captain, and sure enough, he'd be quite happy to take our bikes and us to the town of Plakias, which was our next destination. The only thing was he couldn't come to our other beach. We would have to bring our stuff over to Preveli beach. So guess what we did for the next couple of hours in the heat of the day? Shuttled our bikes and our bags over to take the ferry at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We made 3 trips back and forth carrying all our stuff, and we got some pretty strange looks from other tourists, but it was worth it just to not have to ride back up that gravel hill again. Right after we disembark at Plakias, Frank realizes he doesn't have his cycling shoes, his good cycling shoes, the kind that clip into your pedals. They've been left on the beach at Preveli. So, guess what we're doing tomorrow? We're going to have a second visit to the Palm Beach. Next morning, we're on the first ferry over to Preveli beach, and by some miracle the shoes are still there, just above the high tide line where we left them while we were packing the boat yesterday. Later, as we're sitting enjoying the beach, we see the most surprising sight. A couple of cycle tourists unloading their bikes from a boat that came from the Galini direction. Could it be that there's others as crazy as us? Anyway, we went to talk to them, and they're a New Zealand couple of ladies, a mother and daughter, Katrina and Hannah, and they're planning to take the next ferry to Plakias. So we end up on the same ferry as them, and they come and join us in the campground and help us celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving, which is today, and we have a lovely evening enjoying their company. The ladies leave early the next morning. They're on a fast track to get to Samaria Gorge. Frank and I are ready to leave a bit later on our more leisurely tour as we continue west.
Here we are on the long, slow climb out of Plakias. There's only one way in and out of Plakias, and that is via hills. Good job, Frank.
11 o'clock in the morning. We started from sea level So far this is the steepest uphill we ever faced. It's paved road, but basically from the sea we are pushing our bikes incredibly hard. Yeah, pretty much. You did well.
We're almost at Sougia.
Somewhere up there. So we did about 3 kilometers from campground. Holy mackerel, we are already exhausted. Are you happy that we have climb over?
Oh yeah, I am. And look at the reward we have. This scenery looking down on Plakias Bay is fantastic.
Okay, another climb. This one doesn't look so bad, right?
No, it's gradual.
Apart from the horrible climb out of Plakias this morning, today's ride has been just spectacular so far. We're high up over the coastline with sweeping panoramas over the sea with mountains behind us and other steep mountains to our right. The road is very quiet and it's a most enjoyable ride. Pretty soon I think we're going to head down to the sea.
Okay, now we are on the road. Apparently we just met another cycling couple of Germans. We have about this road for another kilometer and then it should be paved again, but look at the scenery. This is beautiful here.
This morning we've arranged to meet Hannah and Katrina when they come in on the ferry from Agia Rumeli. We visit a memorial to the Allied forces from World War II. It was here in Sougia that on May 27, 1941, 16,000 defeated Greek and Allied troops, many of them New Zealanders, retreated on foot from the north coast through the mountains as German forces took control of the north coast cities. 11,000 made their escape, rescued by British and Australian warships which brought them to Alexandria. Many of the rest were captured before they could be rescued. It's a poignant reminder of events that unfolded right here in this harbour. We bid farewell to the ladies, and Frank and I get ready for our next journey, which is a boat trip from Sougia to Sougia. There is not a road that connects these two towns along the south coast, so a ferry is our option. Looking back towards Sougia and those impenetrable mountains. Maybe she doesn't like fig leaves.
No, she doesn't.
Actually, she does.
We're hanging out in the village of Agia Rumeli right now. The ferry stops here for a few hours and it will pick up loads of hikers coming down from Samaria Gorge. We'll continue on at 5 p.m. We're just loving the cool laid-back vibe here at Sougia. There's quite a few artistic people around, as you can see, and there's a lovely little taverna right up behind the beach where we love to hang out, and we just may never want to leave here.
breakfast is yogurt, banana and muesli, and you can hear the rooster crowing in the background. We're sitting in front of our tent, and there's lots of other tenters and campers over along the beach here. The little town of Sougia is over there.
We loved Sougia and the beach camping here so much that we ended up staying for 4 nights. I don't know how we're going to tear ourselves away. Today we're going to start the ride to Chania on the north coast. We want to be there in 2 days' time to meet David and Rose coming in from Ireland. We think this will be a challenging ride as we have to climb up through the mountains that form the spine of Crete, and we don't know if we'll do it in 1 or 2 days, so we want to leave enough time.
We're on the steepest part of the climb from the south coast to the north coast now. Frank's up ahead and we have a steep part up here. And as we've seen all over Crete, there are rows of beehives there. We see them in the remotest of places. There's that road up ahead of us.
Somewhere from there we came almost 800 meters or climb since the morning. I wonder what is behind that turn. Why, look at that. Windmills in a fog. If this is the end, then we have 30 kilometers downhill to other side of the Crete.
Here comes Frank, looking strong up the last push, I think. We head from Sougia to Chania.
From this morning.
Well done! There is a turbine. I don't know if you can see it, but that's a turbine up there. A wind turbine, that is. There's something really good to eat on the road here. This guy doesn't want to leave it, even though he's a bit wary of our presence here.
We had an excellent ride today and made it all the way to Chania. By 6 p.m. we had checked into the city's very centrally located campground, and I think we'll sleep well tonight. Today we're cycling west of Chania about 20 kilometers to Maleme. Maleme is best known as the landing site for German paratroopers at the start of the Battle of Crete in 1941 in World War II. In spite of heavy losses, the Germans gained control of this airfield, which allowed them to, within 10 days, capture the rest of the island. 4,500 German soldiers are buried here. It's hard not to feel conflicted about visiting a place like this, but looking around here and seeing how very young many of these soldiers were, and remembering that many of them would have been drafted into service to carry out the wishes of their leaders. Maybe they were unfortunate to lose their lives on the wrong side of conflict, but still deserve to be remembered. The following day, my brother and sister-in-law arrived from Ireland, and we settled into a very comfortable Airbnb, and we had a rental car, and the four of us spent the next 10 days exploring the city of Chania and the sites in the western part of Crete. One of the places we visited was the very popular Balos beach. This one is interesting because you drive 12 kilometers on a gravel road and then you hike for 2 kilometers down to a very pretty beach. I'm sure glad we were there in October and not in the busy season, because there were quite a few people there. The annual Chestnut Festival was taking place in the little village of Elos, so we checked that out and enjoyed some traditional music and food, and of course some raki, the nectar of Crete and the symbol of friendship and hospitality. We also drove down to the southwest coast and spent a few nights in the pleasant town of Paleo-Hora. We definitely found that the water is warmer on the south coast than on the north. Not too far west of Paleo is another very popular spot, the picturesque beach at Elefinici. It's noted for its pink sand, and it's definitely worth a visit. Our 10 days together have come to an end, and David and Rosita have to catch their flight back to Dublin, so we make the drive from Paleo to Chania's airport to see them off. Frank and I will then have one more day left before we have to catch the overnight ferry back to Athens. It's our very last day on Crete, and we decide to go for one last bike ride just around the peninsula to the northeast of Chania. The famous old movie Zorba the Greek, starring Anthony Quinn, has a famous dance scene filmed in Stavros on this same peninsula, and we're going to go check it out.
Frank the Greek.
We're on our way south again, heading towards the port of Sougia and the military cemetery there, which we really want to visit. As we pass by a home in a tiny village, there's a party going on, and the owners wave at us to come and join in. It's a raki party where friends and neighbours are celebrating the annual moonshine making. We leave the party and manage to get back on our bikes and make it to Sougia Military Cemetery before dusk. This is the resting place of over 1,500 soldiers from the Allied forces killed in the Battle of Crete in 1941. We're now getting ready to board our overnight ferry to Athens. What an amazing day today. We couldn't have written a better ending to our time in Crete. Seeing Zorbis beach, the generosity shown to us at the raki party, and the somber reminder of just one of Crete's many tragic historical events. Here's a great quote from Lonely Planet. Cretans are a very distinctive clan of Greeks, with their own spirited music and dances, remarkable cuisine and traditions, proud, patriotic and fierce, yet famously hospitable. We had a fabulous time in Crete. For our first cycle tour, I have to say things went really well, apart from Frank losing his pannier, which will always remain a mystery. We had no other issues. Crete has miles of quiet roads, and we found October to be a perfect time with still good weather and less crowds. The temperature ranged between 17 degrees and 37 degrees Celsius. We cycled about 600 kilometers over a period of 3 weeks on this tour. The section shown in this part 2 video was about 360 kilometers. Our daily average was only 40 kilometers. Those are not big distances, but we had plenty of time and had a very laid-back approach, so we stopped a lot and had time to enjoy places that we liked. We booked ourselves a cabin for the 8.5-hour overnight ferry ride from Sougia to Piraeus near Athens, so we arrived well rested at 6:30 the next morning. We had all day to get the bikes and us ready for our journey home to Canada the following day. And we're already starting to think about where our next cycling adventure might take us.